Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Conacher, Mr. Carney's ethics disclosure states that he is entitled to carried interest payments, aka future bonus pay, in respect of the performance of Brookfield's global transition funds, in which he co-led efforts to raise billions of dollars of capital for. But what is missing from Mr. Carney's disclosure are the holdings in this fund, the companies that this fund is invested in. Would you agree that this is a significant and material omission from the standpoint of knowing the extent of Mr. Carney's conflicts of interest?
Yes, and unfortunately, though, the disclosure rules allow for secret investments, essentially. The details are not provided.
Yeah, it's a material omission, would you agree? Because Mr. Carney handpicked the holdings in the companies that the fund is invested in, and therefore the companies his future performance pay, worth potentially tens of millions of dollars, is tied to, correct?
Yes, so when you have these kind of general funds, which, again, it's legal to invest in some of them and keep it secret, some types of mutual funds, the details of what you're actually invested in is known to you, but not disclosed to the public.
So Mr. Carney therefore knows which public policy decisions will impact these holdings, which in turn impacts the future performance of the fund, which in turn affects the value of his future bonus pay. Meanwhile, Canadians are left in the dark. So Mr. Carney, as it pertains to his future bonus pay, is hiding his conflicts of interest from Canadians, isn't he?
Yes, again, that's legal to do, and what's even worse, because of another, the biggest loophole in the Act, he is allowed to participate in decisions 99% of the time that affect his investments, because the definition of private interest in the Act says that you are not in a conflict, and the Act does not apply when you are dealing with a matter that applies generally. And 99% of decisions that the Prime Minister and Cabinet Ministers and top government officials make apply generally. And so the Act only applies 1% of the time to very specific decisions. And as a result, it's almost impossible to be in a conflict of interest under this Act.
But to be clear, just with respect to disclosure, there's nothing that prevents Mr. Carney from disclosing the companies and the holdings of these funds, is there? If he wanted to be transparent, he could simply disclose that information to Canadians?
Well, we're waiting.
Of course, you can always go beyond what's required in terms of disclosure and also compliance.
But Mr. Carney, of course, hasn't been transparent. Now, the Global Transition Funds is listed in Mr. Carney's so-called ethics screen, but given that the holdings and the companies that the fund is invested in, and in which Mr. Carney's future performance pay is tied to, have not been disclosed by Mr. Carney, how possibly can the ethics screen function to screen out Mr. Carney for making decisions where he has conflicts of interest?
Well, the ethics screen never works because, again, of this huge loophole. So ethics screens are a smoke screen that actually violate the law because the Act requires disclosure whenever you recuse yourself, step aside from participating in a decision, discussion, or vote. And the ethics screen allow you to not do that. So you're violating the law, and what's hidden is that, in fact, you're participating 99% of the time in decisions that affect your investments because of this huge loophole, again, that you do not have to step aside when you're dealing with a matter that applies generally. And again, 99% of decisions apply generally. So the screens are a smoke screen that hide conflicts of interest. They do not stop them or prevent them in any way.
And do you have concerns with the fact that this screen is basically set up on the basis of just trust the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, and the Clerk of the Privy Council? Just trust them, even though they answer to the Prime Minister, that they serve at the pleasure of the Prime Minister?
Yes, very much so. Anyone who's serving at your pleasure is not independent. And I was very disappointed to hear Ethics Commissioner Conrad von Finkenstein claim that they share the same interest as the Prime Minister in terms of keeping him away from conflicts of interest. Actually, the interest they share with the Prime Minister is covering up conflicts of interest.
Finally!
And these ethics screens, again, were created by the ethics commissioner. It's a loophole that's not in the Act. It's created by the commissioner. And tomorrow, Conrad von Finkenstein could require full transparency under that ethics screen of every single time that Mr. Carney is actually stepping aside from a decision.
Yes! That's awesome!
And he could just impose that as part of the conditions of the screen. It's really his screen. He sets the terms of it. And what it would show, if there was transparency, is that 99% of the time, Mr. Carney is participating in decisions that affect his financial interests because the law allows for that, as the ethics commissioner acknowledged when he was testifying.
Now, Mr. Carney has said, well, you know, there's nothing to see here. Everything is on the up and up because I've put my assets into a blind trust. But when we look, for example, at the funds in which he has future bonus pay awaiting for him, what good is a blind trust when the Prime Minister is hardly blind to policy decisions that will impact upon his future bonus pay?
Very quick response.
Yeah, blind trusts are not blind at all. You choose the trustee. You also can give them initial instructions. They can give you regular updates, and you know what you put in the blind trust. But even further for Prime Minister Carney, the holdings are actually outside the blind trust. All the Brookfield conglomerate, the 103 companies, he knows that he owns them. He knows that he owns stock options in Brookfield until 2033. So he knows he's in a financial conflict of interest, and there's nothing preventing or prohibiting or penalizing it.
Okay.